Today on Bonsai by the Samurai, I'm going to show you a little trick that we've learned over the days and past, and that is applying WD-40 to the outer skin of your unglazed pot to get it to look better. And we're going to apply some to this paper towel here, and then we're just going to rub it on the surface there. Down here on the feet. Even going to hit the bottom here. It's amazing change up. Well, we're complete with the application of the WD-40. As you can see, it's windy out here. Well, don't mind the roosters. We're going to remove this black pine now from its pond basket. Kind of give you a view of how much soil just kind of falls from the top. Pond baskets are very flexible, so we should be able to remove this pine without too much difficulty. You can see all the mycorrhizin on the base of this pine. That's this white stuff. We want to try to keep a lot of that in our new container, because that will promote growth. So I'll be cutting that loose. It is the fine roots of this black pine, so normally that would be removed anyway, but we're going to utilize it in the use of this pine. I've always been a proponent of using some of the old soil from pines because of this mycorrhizin, and that's exactly what I'll be doing here. I'll be cutting this up and placing it in the pine. Pond basket has allowed it to grow quite well. Well, I took and I crumbled that up into the new pot. Look at the mycorrhizin on the outer parts of this pine. It's quite incredible. There's a lot of it. That really means that it's growing really well. This new pot has nowhere the depth of the previous pot, the pond basket. So I've got to remove a lot of the old soil here. I don't call this a repot. I mentioned earlier that I would not be repotting this pine this year, but just like the oak tree and the yucca, these are transformations. This is the very first bonsai pot that this pine has ever been in. It came to me as just a sprout. It was a gift from our club, the Cypress Lakes Bonsai Club. So most of the people at the club have already moved theirs into bonsai pots. So I'm a little behind in doing that. I like to give things to a certain point where they almost look like a finished bonsai before they go into a bonsai pot. This tree doesn't quite fit that agenda yet, but I figured it can remain in this other pot for a while. My concept now is to try to get it into a pot and continually take it out here and there and repot it to where that it you can still see that mycorrhizin is just all over this thing. Oh, I gotta cut these corners down because of this new size of pot. Let me rake off the top soil here. It is the right time of year to be doing this, even though as of late the temperatures have started to really rise here in Florida. Well, let's do some root cutting. See where we stand as far as going into this new pot. Figure out how we're going to go in there now. I think I want one of the faces showing here. So there is the first look at it at a distance, and let me fill it up now. Using old soil, especially picking up on that stuff filled with the mycorrhizin, which is the roots basically that came off of it. And I'm I'm using the chopstick to get it down into this inner curve that's in this particular pot. Beautiful pot for bunjin or literati, which this is, which is actually, this is the front here slanting towards me. I've already put some plant tone into the soil. At our club, we get Bonsai Jack universal bonsai soil for $10 a gallon because we have a gentleman in our club that has a military discount and we buy it by the case. But even with that great price on it, this probably would not be using a whole gallon, but this is a much finer soil that I'm using here than the universal Bonsai Jack. This is from a few years ago. So the thing about bonsai soil is that, you know, if you went and threw away every bit of bonsai soil that you use for transplanting, you would be spending a lot of money. So I always recommend that you use some of the old soil. I really am a believer in it with pines, as I mentioned earlier, because of the mycorrhizin, which is so. Well, I don't want this film to be very long, so get a final look at it. We'll get it watered in and we'll be done with this. Well, here's our 360 view of this Japanese black pine, transformed now from pond basket into a three-legged bunjin pot. And we'll see how it does. It is still very young. Probably still under 3 years old, maybe 4 now, somewhere around there.